This video is brought to you by MathGalaxy.com. SAT Math consists of arithmetic, algebra, and geometry problems. And in this video, we'll be looking at the arithmetic topic mean, also known as average, median, and mode. And there are 2 to 3 problems of this type per test. And in the College Board's official SAT study guide, there are 10 practice tests. And these are problems on those tests on these topics. The notation here is that this is Section 3, Problem 3 of Practice Test 1. The rule for mean or average is that you add up the values and divide by the number of items. The idea behind it is that you're evening things out. Say, for example, if you ran 4 miles on Monday, 5 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 3 on Thursday, 1 on Friday. You ran 15 miles. If you take that total and divide it by the 5 days, you get 3 miles per day. So that's so if you did 3 miles per day, you would be doing the same total, but you would be doing it more evenly. Another way of representing average is with the average pie. So here we have a total of 15, 5 items, so you have an average of 3. And with the pie, what you do is you put your finger over what you're looking for. So if you're looking for the average, you put your finger over that. And then you want to think of this as a dividing line. It tells you to divide the total by the number of items. 15 divided by 5 is 3. If you're looking for the number of items, you put your finger over that, and again, thinking of this as the dividing line, you divide the total by the average. 15 divided by 3 gives you 5 items. And the total is often important for SAT problems. So if you put your finger over the total and think of these as next to each other, meaning multiplication, to find the total, you multiply the number of items times the average. 5 times 3 gives you 15. Let's try some problems. If you want to try this on your own before seeing the solution, you can pause the screen now. Here's a typical problem. If the average weight of n people is x, what is their total weight in terms of n and x? Well, one way to approach this is to turn it into an arithmetic problem. You do that by choosing numbers for the variables. So let's say we have 5 people and their average weight is 150. What is their total weight? And if you're doing it this way, you cross this out. That phrasing is if you're doing it as an algebra problem. If you want to do it as an arithmetic problem, the arithmetic question becomes, what is their total weight? So the strategy is to solve it as an arithmetic problem and then see which answer matches your answer, because the answer that's true in general also has to be true for any particular set of numbers. So if we did it by the equation, we don't know the total, so we know that there are 5 items and the average is 150. So to get t by itself, to undo division by 5, you multiply both sides by 5, and you get t is equal to 750. So that's the answer to the arithmetic problem. So the correct equation should also give us that for these particular numbers. So now let's check this. So n is 5 plus 150 over 5. Well, that's not going to give us 750. N is 5 times x, which is 150. Okay, well that parallels our arithmetic solution. So B is the answer. And if you solved it algebraically, it would be t over n is equal to x. multiply both sides by n to get t by itself. T is equal to nx. And if you did it by the average pi, so this would be t n and x. So if we're looking for t, if you put your finger over that, it tells you multiply n times x. Next problem. If you want to try this on your own before seeing the solution, you can pause the screen now. In this problem, they're asking if the average of 8, 12, 15, 21, and x is x, what is x? So we start with the basic rule, which is the sum divided by the number of items. So the sum, we do 8 plus 12 plus 15 plus 21 plus x, and we have 5 items, and the average is x. Okay, so we add these up and we get 56 plus x over 5 is equal to x. Multiply both sides by 5, we get 56 plus x is equal to 5x. Subtract x from both sides, we get 4x is equal to 56, and divide both sides by 4, we get x is equal to 14. Next problem. If you want to try this on your own before seeing the solution, you can pause the screen now. Here it says the average weight of 4 people is 100. If a 5th person is added to the group, the average weight is 90. What is the weight of the 5th person? Well, one way to approach this is with the average pi. So let's say, and whenever the number of items change, you have to have a new pi. So we're going to need a pi for each of the 2 cases. Okay, and then we want to put in our information. So the average weight of 4 people, so the number of items goes here. The average is 100. So that tells us the total is 400. And if a 5th person is added to the group, so now we have a group of 5, the average weight is 90. So the total there was 450. What is the weight of the 5th person? Well, as is often the case, the totals provide the answer. The 5th person raised the total by 50 pounds, so the person's weight was 50. If you wanted to do it with the equation, you could do it as, let's see here, t over 4 is equal to 100, and here t over 5 is equal to 90, and solve from there. Next problem. If you want to try this on your own before seeing the solution, you can pause the screen now. Here, the average weight of 6 people is 240. The average weight of 2 of them is 200. What is the average weight of the other 4? So here we're splitting a group into 2 subgroups, and whether you use the average pi or the equation, you need 1 for each. So we need an average pi for each of them. and then we put in what we know. So the average weight for the overall group is 6 people, and the average weight is 240. That tells us to get the total we have to multiply, which is 1440. And for these 2 people, the average weight is 200. So that tells you their total weight is 400. And for the other 4, all we know is that there are 4 of them. We want to find the average. So that tells us we need the total. So the key here is that the total weights of the 2 subgroups have to equal the total for overall. So the total has to be split among those. And that's a subtraction problem. This gives us 1040. Divided by 4, we get 260. If you wanted to set it up as an equation and to be a little more concrete about it, we could give them names. So let's say Al plus Bob plus Carol plus Don plus Ed plus Frank. If we average all those weights, it's 240. So multiplying both sides by 6, that tells us the total weight is 1440. Okay, and if we look at the group of 2, make them Al and Bob. We can solve for their total as being 400. So we don't know the weight. We don't need to know the weights individually. We just need to know their totals. So if we know that these are 400, then that tells us the other 4 are the difference between them. So we set up an equation with C plus D plus E plus F divided by 4 equals to the difference between these. Next problem. If you want to try this on your own before seeing the solution, you can pause the screen now. Here we have a median problem, and the median is the middle number when the numbers are arranged lowest to highest. And if there are an even number of numbers, there are 2 candidates for the middle, so you average the 2. So first step is to arrange them lowest to highest. So we have a 2, and it helps to cross them out as you use them. And then a 3. Next we have a 5, and a 6, and a 7, and 3 9s. And on most of these, what you're interested in is anything that changes the median. So a condition of the problem is that the median has to be 7. And this is looking for an except 1. So n can be any of the following except. So you're going to have, if you ask, will these still keep the median at 7, you're going to have 4 yeses and 1 no. Okay, so let's start with 6. And to figure out the median, one way is to count in from both ends equally. So if we count in 4 there and 4 there, that means 6 is the median, and that changes it. So that's the exception. So if you wanted to say check the others, let's say if n was 7, then we would have these 4 on this end and these 4 on this end, and it would still keep the median at 7. And if n were any number 7 or greater, adding it out here would still keep the median at 7. Next problem. If you want to try this on your own before seeing the solution, you can pause the screen now. Here they're asking which will not change the median. Whenever you can, you want to work with specific numbers. So here, why don't we work with the numbers that we just had. So if we had 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 7, and 3 9s. Okay, so the median, since we had an odd number, 4 over here, 4 over there, 7 is the median. Okay, well, doubling each number, so remember we want those that will not change. Will doubling each number change the median? Well, we have 4, 6, 10, 12, 14. Well, obviously it will, because now the median will be 14 if we continue on here. That's out. Adding the same number to each. So let's say if we add 1 to each, well, then this will become 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. So we've changed the middle number. So likewise, subtracting the same number from each will change it. Increasing the largest number, well, as we saw in the last problem, if we increase the largest number, so if we make this instead of 9, 99 or 9900, it's not going to shift that. So that would be our answer. And just to check, increasing the smallest number could change it, because if we say increase this to 1,000, then it would move over here, and in this problem it wouldn't change it, but in general it could. Next problem. If you want to try this on your own before seeing the solution, you can pause the screen now. Here you're given a chart that shows the results of a survey of the number of household pets. And first it asks, what is the mode? The mode is the value that occurs most frequently. So here the mode is 2. It has the greatest number of observations. In high school you may have heard of bimodal distributions, where you had 2 values that occurred equally frequent. But for the SAT, if you have 2 values with the same number of observations, there is no mode. Next it asks, what is the median number of pets? Well, you just can't take these numbers and say, well, 4 looks like the lowest number, and then next is 3, the next is 1, and next is 0, and then 2. Because these aren't the observations. The observations are 16 households with 0 pets, 10 households with 1 pet, and so on. You could order the observations lowest to highest by writing out 16 zeros, 10 ones, and so on, and then counting in equally from both ends to get the middle one. But that would take a lot of work. Easier way is to represent it like this, so that there are 16 zeros, 10 ones, 17 twos, 5 threes, and 3 fours. And if you add them up, there are 51 observations. If you divide by 2, you get 25 and a remainder, which tells you that there are 25 observations below the median and 25 above it. So the median is the 26th observation from the left. So all you have to do is find out which group the 26th observation is in. So if you add these, 16 plus 10 is 26. So the 26th observation, the median is the last one in this group. So the median is 1. That's the end of our review of mean, median, and mode. You can find more practice in the College Board's official SAT study guide. And this shows in their 10 practice tests where you can find problems on mean, median, and mode. Remember, the notation is that this is section 3, problem 3, and practice test 1. So good luck with the test.